I never thought my 68th birthday would find me huddled in an abandoned auto shop on the south side of Detroit, the air thick with motor oil and rust. Yet there I was, my trembling hand fumbling with a corroded lock, tears blurring my vision as my son's cruel words echoed through me. "You ain't nothing but a useless old woman, Ma. What would you even do with real money?" Daddy knew that. The key scraped against the lock before finally sliding in. The door groaned open like it resented my presence. My flashlight beam cut through decades of dust and shadows, and that's when I froze. What I saw inside stopped my breath cold. But before I tell you what I found, you need to understand how I ended up here, with nothing but a beat-up suitcase to my name after 42 years of marriage. Just that morning, I'd stood beside my only son in a law office, listening as the attorney read out my late husband's will. To Isaiah, our son, went the downtown condo and the investment accounts. To me, his wife of 4 decades, a rundown auto shop on Industrial Street. Please like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. The reading blurred like I was underwater, hearing life through glass. Mr. Price, our family attorney, cleared his throat and dabbed his forehead with a linen handkerchief. Per Mr. Carter Jordan's instructions, he said, eyes avoiding mine. The downtown condo and primary investment accounts go to his son, Isaiah Jordan. And to his wife, Evelyn Jordan, he added, voice thinning. The property located at 1175 Industrial Street. The auto shop and contents. An auto shop. After 42 years of birthdays, broken toes, inside jokes, hospital scares, dances in the kitchen at midnight, he left me an auto shop. Isaiah's posture shifted, grief melting into a smile he tried to hide. His hand landed heavy on my shoulder.
Don't worry, Ma.
I'll handle everything. I didn't ask what that meant. I couldn't form questions around the lump in my throat. By evening, he drove me back to what I still called home. As soon as we stepped inside, Isaiah set my suitcase by the door. Ma, you should find someplace else. The condo's in my name now. I got contractors coming. I need to make changes. Where am I supposed to go? He shrugged. That shop Daddy left you. He smirked. Open a lube station at your age? Something inside me cracked. Then he said it. You ain't got use for real money, Ma. Daddy knew that. I took my suitcase and left. Which is why, hours later, I stood in a dark, forgotten building that smelled like rain-soaked rubber and old grief, my flashlight trembling. The beam landed on rows of cabinets, a gleam of stainless steel, a polished floor too clean for abandonment. Not junk. Not ruin.
Care.
Then I saw the shapes beneath fitted covers, 3 of them, lined up like sleeping beasts. The nearest one's cover clung to chrome so immaculate, the light bounced back at me. My breath hitched. I pulled the cover. A 1970 Plymouth Hemi, Cuda, violet paint deep as bruised twilight, flawless. Daddy Carter was never a car man. Or so I thought. The second cover revealed fins and swagger, a 1959 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz convertible in pearl, white as a hymn dress, red leather gleaming like a mouth ready to testify. The third Lord, 1963 Chevrolet Corvette split-window coupe, black as midnight, curves that made my knees weak. Beside each car, a leather folio, papers arranged with reverence. Provenance, appraisals, maintenance logs. On the wall, a sealed envelope with my name in Carter's blocky handwriting. Beside it, a switch. I flipped it, and the ceiling flushed alive with modern LEDs. The abandoned garage became a sanctuary. Climate control whispering, camera eyes winking, epoxy floor shining. Carter, what did you do? I sat on a leather bench, the envelope heavy in my palms, the room humming with a secret heartbeat. My fingers tore the seal, as if I were opening a wound. Evie, it began his private name for me. If you're reading this, I'm already where the pain can't reach. Forgive the lies by omission. I wasn't hiding from you. I was sheltering you. 6 years ago, when the doctor said my heart was a borrowed clock, I started making sure you'd never be beholden to anyone. My chest tightened. He'd told me it was manageable. He'd smiled through it all. You will wonder about Isaiah's portion. I saw something hardening in him. The boy we raised learned to love the shine more than the steel underneath. If I left you the visible things, he'd take control for your benefit. I couldn't risk you living under anyone's thumb. He listed the cars with values that made the floor tilt. These three together, around $9.4 million at conservative estimates. Contact: Russell Gaines, trusted dealer, discreet. There's a safe behind our photo from New Orleans. Combination is our anniversary. Inside, deeds to properties in your living trust, bank accounts arranged for your lifetime, instructions, names of people who will treat you right. My vision swam. He'd built a future inside a lie and set it gently in my hands. Love is protection, Evie. I couldn't give Isaiah that test without giving you a shield. Carter. The photo hung in a simple black frame. Us on Bourbon Street, a brass band in the background, his arm looped through mine, both of us laughing like the world was young. Behind it, flush in the wall, a safe. My birthday for the month, our wedding year for the rest. It opened with a quiet click. Inside, folders layered like a careful quilt. A stack of USB drives labeled in Carter's neat print. I pulled the top document. Estate of Carter D. Jordan. Complete asset inventory for Evelyn M. Jordan. Line after line. A 6-unit brick in Cleveland. A corner grocery rental in Memphis. 2 duplexes in Jacksonville. A marshside cottage near Beaufort, South Carolina, already furnished. Municipal bonds. Dividend stocks. A conservative ladder of CDs. A charitable foundation application, half complete in my name. The numbers at the bottom made a ringing start in my ears. My phone buzzed. Isaiah. I let it die out, breath small and quick. I put the papers down and read the rest of Carter's letter. If Isaiah cared for you as I hoped, share what you choose. If he showed his teeth, keep your spine and keep your assets. I know you. You're stronger than your fear. I pressed the letter to my chest, my ribs aching around it like the words needed space to live. Thank you, I whispered to a man who had been more than I'd let myself see. I found a small office off the main floor, tucked neat as a prayer closet, a pull-out leather sofa, a compact shower, a mini fridge stocked with water, yogurt, fruit cups. In the narrow closet, soft tees, slacks, a navy pantsuit, tags still on, my size exactly. He'd planned for this first rough night. At dawn, the sanctuary gleamed. Industrial outside, cathedral inside. The security panel blinked green. Cold air moved steady. I brewed coffee from a little machine Carter must have snuck in some afternoon when I thought he was at the barber shop. I dialed the number in the letter. Mr. Gaines. Mrs. Jordan. A warm, gravelly voice answered. I've been waiting for your call. And I'm sorry for your loss. 2 hours later, a tall black man with salt and pepper waves and a linen blazer stepped out of a modest sedan, not a sports car. He entered like a man walking into church. Your husband had taste and discipline, he said, opening his leather folio. He acquired each piece with patience. Verified history. Clean titles. Long-term view. Why cars? I asked. Carter said a car is a promise made of steel. You can see it, touch it, and if you need to, convert it. He smiled. Also, he liked a little thunder under the hood. I laughed, a wet sound. He did love loud things. Gaines's gaze softened. Everything paid for 5 years in advance, storage, maintenance, insurance. There's no rush. For the first time in days, I breathed without flinching. That evening, I called Isaiah back. Where are you? He demanded. Aunt Minnie says you ain't stayed a night with her. I need you to get your old things. I'm meeting with designers. Wall-to-wall glass, Ma. Light everywhere. He sounded 10 feet tall with someone else's money. I'll stop by in the morning, I said. I arrived at 8:45, wearing the navy pantsuit from Carter's hidden closet. I had pressed my hair, slid on lipstick, small armor. Isaiah opened the door, with his phone glued to his palm. The living room was already stripped, family photos gone. Our wedding quilt folded into a donation bin.
Finally, he said.
Boxes are in the bedroom. Keep it moving. Cruise here at 9:30. Good morning to you, too. He led me past hollowed walls to stacks of cardboard. In one box, I found Carter's fountain pens, the sweater I'd given him last Christmas, still smelling faintly of cedar and cologne. Old man stuff, Isaiah said, waving at it. I kept the watch. Old man stuff. The words crushed and sharpened at once. I sorted in silence. I took the things that held him. A cufflink set he wore to church, the pen he used to sign Isaiah's birth certificate, a photo of us on the porch with baby feet in our hands. When I finished, I told my son I'd be saying goodbye to the home that had been mine. He nodded like I was asking for a receipt. As I walked through each room one last time, I found Carter's leather messenger bag hidden behind winter coats. Inside, a duplicate set of the garage safe documents and a note. In case Isaiah tears through the paper trail, love outsmarts hurry. I smiled through tears. My husband, meticulous even in grief. I met with attorney Patrice Bell that afternoon, a woman with silver braids and courtroom calm. She flipped through the documents like she was reading Braille on my future. Mrs. Jordan, this is a masterclass in statecraft. Your husband protected you, without crossing legal lines. I need security. A home. Time, I said. And I don't know what to do about Isaiah. There's no rush to define that, she replied. First, go see the cottage near Beaufort. If it holds you, root there. We'll brief the financial team your husband assembled, and you'll make decisions about the cars when your mind is clear.
My phone buzzed as I left.
Isaiah again. Designers love the bones. I drop your old photo albums at Aunt Minnie's since you didn't take them. Old.
Dropped. Since.
Words like debris. I didn't reply. I drove east, toward marshes and salt. The cottage was stone and wood, tucked behind live oaks bearded with Spanish moss. A gate creaked open to a path edged with hydrangea. Inside, sunlight, book-lined walls, a quilt in the color of dusk thrown over a window seat. In the study hung a watercolor of the riverfront where Carter proposed. Our original had been lost years ago. He'd found a way to bring it back to me. That night, I slept to the murmur of crickets and far-off tide. At noon, a neighbor knocked, turban wrapped high, lipstick the color of pomegranate. I'm Loretta Banks from 2 houses down. Carter told me to look out for you when you came. She held a foil-covered casserole like an offering. He told you about this? He visited in little bursts, said he was building a soft landing. He asked me not to intrude until you found the key yourself. Her smile gentled. He also asked me to make sure you had a friend. We sat at the kitchen table with tea and cornbread. Loretta told me how Carter had argued with a contractor about installing grab bars in the shower. Not for her now, but for her someday. He had a list for me in the study drawer, local doctors, an excellent mechanic, a choir director, a therapist who understood grief and church wounds. A library card waited under a note in Carter's hand. Start here when the world is too loud. I cried without shaking this time. Grief loosened its grip and let love speak. For 3 days, I walked the marsh boardwalk at dawn, let gulls scold me, learned the kitchen light, the way the house exhaled at night. On the 4th morning, Isaiah called. Where are you? Taking time, I said. You can't just vanish, he snapped. Folks will talk. Let them. I stare at the moss stirring in the breeze. What do you need, Isaiah? A long pause. Dad's notes mention meetings with people I don't recognize. You know something about that. Your father kept things private. His silence turned blade sharp. We need to talk. In person. Not yet, I said. I'll be in touch. When I hung up, the house felt like a chest full of truth I wasn't ready to open for him. 2 weeks slid by, schedules with Patrice, calls with a financial advisor named Howard Lattimore, a visit from Mr. Gaines to check tire pressure and polish chrome like prayer. No need to sell quick, he reminded me. Patience pays. Patience hurts, I said. He tipped his head. Sometimes that's the cost of the right thing. On a sun-bright afternoon, my driveway filled with a glossy midnight SUV. Personalized plates, IZYJRD. My stomach dipped. Isaiah stood on my porch looking like success hiccuped. Perfect haircut, hollow eyes. Found you, he said, voice edged with triumph and accusation. Nice little hidden paradise. How did you? I hired someone. You vanished. I told him my elderly mother was confused with grief. He let it hang there, a manipulation dressed like concern. I opened the door to keep the neighbors from hearing him. He walked through the cottage, eyes calculating, measuring value. Charming, he said, making it sound like a diagnosis. So, this is why you went ghost. I needed air, I said. How did you find the shop?
He smirked.
Went there yesterday. Locked tight, but light through dirty glass tells secrets.
Cars in there.
Pretty ones. My heartbeat thudded low. Let me guess, he went on. Worth more than the condo with its leaky pipes and HOA vultures. You knew, didn't you? I knew nothing until he died, I said. And I would have told you if you hadn't thrown me out. Something flickered across his face. Hurt, then anger swallowing it whole. So, what's the play, Ma? You sit on the fortune while I drown. I poured tea to keep my hands from shaking. Sit down, Isaiah. He lowered himself onto the bench like a coiled muscle. I slid a folded letter toward him. Your father's words, not mine. He read. His mouth tightened, then flattened. At the line about his character, his knuckles whitened. He set the paper down as if it might bruise. So Dad thought I was unworthy. He thought you were at risk, I said, of becoming a man who uses power to shrink other people. He stood, chair feet scraping tile. And you, what? Sat here judging me while you counted cars. I sat here learning not to need your permission to breathe. He paced, the cottage too small for his fury. I'll contest it. Hidden assets, secret trusts. A judge will see through this. Patrice says the structures are clean, I replied. It was his to give. He inhaled, recalculated. Compromise then. Half. Be fair.
No.
His laugh cut. Since when do you say no to me? Since you called me useless and made me carry my life in a suitcase. He flinched. He didn't apologize. This isn't about money, I continued. It's about the man you're choosing to be. Your father's gift was also a test. You failed the first question.
His jaw clenched.
You can keep your sermon. He grabbed his keys. This isn't over.
The door slammed.
My tea went cold. The house sighed with me. Loretta texted. I saw a storm drive away. Gumbo at 6? Yes, I typed, hands steadying. Yes, please. 3 months later, fall took the heat out of the marsh and turned the light syrup soft. I worked a rhythm. Prayer at the kitchen sink, budgeting with Howard, walking the boardwalk with Loretta, sending Mr. Gaines a pie when he sent photos of the Cuda gleaming like a bruise you chose. Email with Isaiah became formal and chilly. His lawyer friends must have told him the truth. Carter's walls were well built. One afternoon, a woman in a gray suit knocked. Mrs. Jordan? I'm Diane Reeves, Mr. Isaiah Jordan's assistant. The title itself told a story. Inside, she perched like she didn't intend to stay. Your son has experienced setbacks. Renovation overruns at the condo. An investment gone wrong. He's at risk of foreclosure. Regret flickered through me, old reflex. I pushed it down. Has he considered selling the condo? In its current condition, a sale would result in a loss. There are also complications with contractors. Meaning, I said, he made enemies. She blinked. He needs assistance. He believes you have resources. I'll consider it, I said. The timeline is urgent. So is wisdom, I answered gently. I'll be in touch. After she left, I drove to the city. The doorman remembered my name. Inside, our home had been carved to bone. Wires like veins, plaster dust everywhere. Unstirred marble cracked at the corners. Water stains traced a map of neglect. When the front door clicked again, Isaiah appeared, drawn and thinner, the arrogance deflated, worry draped across his face like an ill-fit coat. I wanted to see it, I told him. He laughed without smiling. You see enough? I see more than walls, I said. I see patterns. Redo this. Don't add white Americans. We stood in the ruins of a life he wanted to sell to strangers. What happened? I asked. He sank onto an overturned bucket. I over-leveraged on a development, luxury condos on a riverfront lot. Pre-sales were hot. Then environmental tests found contamination. Cleanup killed the deal.
Investors ran.
I borrowed against this place, expecting it to appraise sky-high after the Reno. He rubbed his eyes. Dominoes don't stop once they fall. I thought of every time Carter had tried to teach him about risk and patience while Isaiah rolled his eyes. I thought of the day my son set my suitcase down by the door, like I was a delivery. Why didn't you ask for help sooner?
Pride, he said.
And anger.
His mouth twisted.
You and Dad, y'all set me up. We set you free to tell on yourself, I said softly. He looked at me like he wanted me to be cruel, so he could be righteous in return. I didn't give him that mercy. Will you help me? He asked finally. The question cost him something. Maybe not enough, but something.
Yes, I said.
But not how you expect. Relief flashed.
How?
Come to Beaufort tomorrow at 11, I told him. We'll talk at my table, not inside a wound. He nodded, lips pressed thin against whatever he wanted to say. Driving home with dusk folding over the marsh, I spoke to Carter out loud. Give me a spine and a soft voice. The herons answered by lifting in slow motion from the reeds. I set the table on the back patio, overlooking live oaks and a sliver of river. Iced tea. Chicken salad. A folder stacked with truth. Isaiah arrived on time. Gathered, careful. He looked at the view and swallowed whatever he wanted to call it. I placed the folder between us. Your father commissioned this building report 3 years ago. HVAC lifespan, plumbing failures, elevator modernization. You dismissed it as pessimist talk. The bill came due. He barely glanced. If you brought me here to say, I told you so, you win. I brought you here to offer a way forward that doesn't repeat this. He forced patience. Say it. Full transparency. All debts, contracts, accounts. No shadows. Independent trustees will manage any funds I provide. You'll have a living stipend. The trust pays creditors directly. His jaw clicked. An allowance? Guardrails, I corrected. Temporarily. Next, therapy with someone who understands how money can become a mirror and a weapon. He stared. And the condo? Likely sell it after essential repairs. A clean exit beats a slow bleed. He stood, paced, returned. He was not built for surrender, but desperation teaches. And one more thing, I said. Amends. You will name what you did to me. Not for optics. For repair. He looked away. When he spoke, his voice was raw. I didn't mean it when I called you useless.
But you believe some of it, I said.
He didn't deny it.
Think on it, I said.
Then choose. He left without slamming the door. Progress or fatigue? Maybe both. 3 days later, my phone buzzed.
Isaiah.
I braced for bargaining. Instead, he said, I'll do it. All of it. What followed was months of excavation, of numbers, and of pride. Patrice and Howard built scaffolds around Isaiah's falling tower. The mess was deeper than he'd confessed, as messes always are, but not bottomless. Essential renovations made the condo sellable. We refused the urge to polish it into a fantasy. It sold, not for the dream price, but enough to breathe. More surprising were the Tuesdays. At first, he treated therapy like a compliance box. Then, he started asking me strange questions. What did Grandma keep in her top drawer? Why did Dad always count steps? We pieced our family myths into something that could hold weight. During this time, I took the CUDA out once at dawn, the engine low-singing through my bones, the road unwinding like a secret ribbon. I cried, laughed, and told Carter off and thanked him all in the same mile. Isaiah's emails softened. He asked about Loretta's gumbo. He sent a photo of a sunrise he said looked like a bruise healing. I didn't write back to that one. I just saved it. Some nights, I sat on the porch with the lights off, letting cicadas stitch sound across the dark. I imagined Carter sitting in the empty chair beside me, knee popping gently, humming Al Green off-key. We were doing it. Not perfectly, but truly. Spring brought azaleas, and the feel of breath finally filling my ribs. Isaiah drove down once a month. No entourage, no cologne cloud, just him. He'd started wearing quieter clothes, the kind that let a person be heard. He arrived one Saturday carrying a small wrapped box. "The condo closes next week," he said as we sipped coffee. "We did better than I feared." "You did what was necessary, not flashy," I replied. "That's a win." He nodded toward the marsh. "I got offered a job with a community development group, affordable housing, mixed-income projects, rehabs that let elders stay in their neighborhoods." He smiled, tentative and private. "It pays less than my ego likes, but it feels right." I felt the corner of my mouth lift. "Your father believed in work that leaves people standing." "I used to say those projects weren't viable," he admitted. "Turns out viable means something different when you put people in the equation." He slid the box toward me. Inside, Carter's cufflinks and tie pins, polished like a memory made new. Beneath them, a velvet pouch. My original wedding band rested there like a found seashell, simple, warm. "I found it in Dad's study safe," Isaiah said, handing me an envelope addressed in Carter's hand. Inside, a card. The first band was Promise. "This one celebrates what we built. All my love." A receipt tucked behind it, a custom eternity band he hadn't lived to give me. I picked it up, Isaiah said softly, producing a small jeweler's box. The ring inside was sapphires and diamonds, elegant, sure of itself. I slid it beside my gold band. It felt like a circle closing without shutting anything in. We sat together in a quiet threaded with birdsong. The man across from me was still my son, quick, proud, sometimes too sharp, but something had shifted toward center. "What about the cars?" he asked at the gate, hand on the latch. "The ones in the shop." "I'm keeping the Eldorado," I said. "Carter would want me riding on Sunday in something that makes people wave." He laughed, the sound like a window opening. "Mr. Gaines will help sell the Cuda and the Corvette. Half the proceeds go to a foundation for financial literacy in Black churches, the kind of education that keeps families from predatory help. The rest goes into a trust for children you may or may not have. Your call someday." "Children," he repeated, not scoffing, not eager, just tasting the word. "Possibility is a form of wealth," I said. He nodded. "Dad would like that line." "Dad wrote it." I lied, just to watch his mouth do that crooked smile Carter used to make when he got away with something sweet. When he drove off, I stood under the live oak and let the sun paint my arms warm. I thought of all the ways love can harden into control or soften into courage. I thought of all the doors a single key can open when a woman decides she will not be small anymore. Inside, I took my time setting the table for one, then for the memory of two. That evening, I eased the Eldorado onto the coastal road. The convertible's red leather held me like an old choir robe, familiar and holy. The engine purred a bass line while the sky dragged gold over the water like a brush. I wore both rings, gold and stones, hands steady on the wheel. "You were right," I told the wind, and the wind carried it to wherever Carter is now. Right about patience, about tests, about the way a son can lose himself and find a better man on the other side of losing face. The worthless auto shop had turned out to be a vault, yes, of money, but more of intention. It made me free. It made me dangerous, in the way a woman becomes dangerous when she learns her worth isn't an item someone else inventories. Back home, I parked beneath the oaks and listened to the ticking engine cool, the house breathing like a living thing when I opened the door. I set Carter's letter on the mantel beside the watercolor of our beginning and the photo of us laughing in New Orleans. Tomorrow, I'd call Mr. Gaines about the sales, Patrice about the foundation, Howard about the trust. Tonight, I poured sweet tea and watched the river darken. The key that once opened a stained door had unlocked a life, and I stepped through full height,